it's become a crutch that I completely rely on. At the end of a meeting, I go open up Copilot for the meeting and I say, give me a list of action items. Hey, everybody, it's Greg with Hungerford. Today, we're going to talk about Copilot for meetings. So, I use Copilot for meetings. I run two client IT strategies meetings a week on average, and it's become a crutch that I completely rely on. At the end of a meeting, I go open up Copilot for the meeting and I say, give me a list of action items. And then instead of summarizing a bunch of decisions that were made in a 90-minute meeting, I get a simple list. And it's about an 8 out of 10. It's mostly accurate, but it's not perfect. And then I just go through and massage those other 2 out of 10, make a couple things changed, and then I have my exact list. I share that with my client, but it also gives me my checklist to go make sure I do things with what we made decisions during that meeting. So I want to talk about that with you guys. Some housekeeping. You do have to record the meeting for the Copilot features afterwards to be available to use. Um, Microsoft keeps changing what is included for free with a regular business account versus having to pay extra for Copilot. But for today, a lot of what I'm going to show you, you do have to have a paid Copilot license. Um, it doesn't immediately become available. You have to wait at the end of a meeting for it to kind of do some post processing. But if it was a shorter meeting, it takes a minute or two. If it's an hour and a half long meeting, like the example I gave, then yeah, sometimes it'll take a few minutes before it shows up. But it's fairly quick. Like it's not half an hour of a wait. And then once you were ready to get started, there's a few ways to find it. If you're paying attention live and it pops up, you'll get a notification that says the meeting is ready to view in Microsoft Teams. You'll get an email alert that can tell you, hey, it's ready to be processed. But you can also just go find it yourself, open up Microsoft Teams, find the meetings app, and then it'll have a list of all those meetings for you. If you wait too long and it's been over 30 days since the recording happened, when you see in your meetings app, it'll cut off and it'll say, if you're looking for anything older than 30 days, you have to go find the invite on your calendar for when that thing happened. And then from there, you can find the Copilot interaction to go chat with it and talk through stuff. So we'll do a quick demo. So I've got a meeting that we ran internally. And so this is kind of that details view that you'd probably be used to seeing. And if I switch over to recap, then I've got the meeting here. I've got this Copilot button in the top right corner, but over here, some cool things that it does is it'll break that meeting down and I can see at a glance who talked the most. We had a bunch of people in one big conference room, so it's doing most of the talking. Topics lets you break down chapters sort of thing. Well, chapters are chapters and topics are topics, but it gives you an idea of like what was discussed. And then chapters lets you go beat by beat and see where you want to go. Now, it did an AI summary of the meeting, and maybe that's enough but for the example that I generally use, I'm clicking on Copilot, and then I'm seeing that this is grounded in work as opposed to web. And so what these toggles mean is if I have it with work, I have a paid Copilot license and it's allowed to know about my work data. So it knows about things that are in my SharePoint OneDrive folders. It knows about emails that I've sent and and Microsoft Teams messages. And so it can bring in context from outside of the meeting that I just held with a client and include that in the conversation. So sometimes it'll pop up suggestions that you can click on and it'll have like a pre-written prompt. But usually what I do is I'll say something like, I just ran a quarterly strategic advisory meeting for my client. Please give me a list of action items that I can use to unpack the meeting and then share later with the client. Since this meeting wasn't that same thing, I'll do something like, give me a list of the most important topics discussed in this meeting. And it's pretty good. Like I said, it'll give me an 8 out of 10 usually, and I'll do a couple things where I'll tweak it. This meeting was framed as a tabletop incident response exercise with defined players, observers, and rules. Yeah, we ran a tabletop exercise just to make sure that the team knows how to practice what to do when we're having a real incident. We learn a lot from these. But you can see it gives me this breakdown of each thing. And just like if you were chatting in kiosk mode with another generative AI like Copilot or ChatGPT or any of those things, I can continue to have a conversation with it, ask it to give me more. But one thing that is nice, each one of these little bullets, it has now told me it's pulling this from the tabletop meeting. But if it did pull something from, say, a previous email, if the way that I asked the question was like it's pulling in context from somewhere else in my work stuff, it'll show me I pulled this bullet from this email. And then if I click on it, it'll take me to that email. And so this has been, like I said at the top, tremendously helpful for me. At the end of the meeting, I can go get these notes as if I had a professional transcriber there, stenographer sitting in the meeting with me, except I don't need a human being for that. Other ways that I've seen this used, which is also cool, uh, I run these strategic advisory meetings on a weekly basis, and one of my coworkers wants to just check in on how those went, but he doesn't want to attend the whole meeting. And so, since I have him invited to the meeting, he can right click on that meeting at the end and see all of this same stuff and get a quick overview of, hey, I wasn't there, but I want to know what went on in that meeting just so I'm staying in touch with my clients. He does that all the time. And often he'll even message me and say something. I'm like, how did you even know that? And he's like, oh, I was reading the notes of your meeting. And that's really nice. If you are trying to do that, the way he and I are set up, he's just invited to the meeting. But you can in Microsoft right click on that invite and say, I want to follow this meeting. I don't even have to be invited. But if I can see your calendar, I can right click and say follow. And what that does is at the beginning of the meeting, it says, Greg wanted to follow this meeting, and it tells the person organizing it that they should hit record so that the Copilot transcript will be available for me to then dig in and start going through it. So there's some cool stuff there. I use this in a post meeting sort of way, but you can imagine a future where we don't wait for the meeting to end to then look backwards and ask questions about the meeting. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if we start trying and getting to a point just even socially where we go, hey, I think we're at the end of the meeting. Let's just ask Copilot real quick. Did we miss anything that we were supposed to cover that was on the agenda, and see if it has an answer? It might not have an answer. It might not say anything smart, but it might say something worth checking. Um, One that I've tried before and I've actually seen be helpful is, hey, before we leave, did we wander off anywhere where we were talking about a thing and we all kind of thought we agreed, but we never actually explicitly said, did we agree on a date or who's owning it or any actual clarity of what the thing we needed to do is? And I've been pretty impressed with its response on these. Like it turns around and it says, it sounds like you kind of thought you meant this, but no one actually said the answer. And it did drive me to an actionable, I'm going to go pull on that thread and make sure we get it done. And something else I've seen it do, which is neat, is if I arrive late to a meeting that is being recorded, it just immediately in Microsoft Teams pops a little window up and it says, hey, you're here late. Here's what you've missed. And it puts some notes to summarize from Copilot telling me this is the stuff that's been talked about. So I talked about this a lot from the way that I actually use it. But if you want to see something more about using it during a meeting, we have a blog on our website, how to use in meetings, during meetings. You should go check it out. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.